Welcome to the Internet of Bugs. My name is Carl. I've been a software professional for 35 years, and today we're going to talk about the code that generative AIs write, what they're good at, what they're not, and what that means for the next few years of programmer jobs. Quick context. I was talking to a junior programmer yesterday about a new microservice they're building. We were talking through the database choices, SQL or NoSQL, ORMs, APIs, that kind of thing. At one point, they said something like, I can't wait to get all these decisions made so I can start the real work. And I had to reply, this is the real work. It's a pretty common misconception, but it turns out that making the right decisions about what to program is actually the important part of the job. Just filling out the lines of code inside the method bodies is the easiest part, the part that AI will be doing soon. It's reasonable that people think that actually typing code is the important part. That's what we think of as programming. It's most of what schools teach, and it's pretty much the only kind of question that gets asked in interviews these days. The interviewing thing is a whole other problem we'll talk more about later in the video, but first, let's talk about AI. So this is an article from day before yesterday about a new AI model that is said to have near human abilities. That's a direct quote. I would never say that. Anyway, the link from this article and the other links I'm talking about today will be down in the video description. So here's a table from that article of how several of the world's most advanced large language models score on various benchmarks. Here's the specific line of that table that talks about coding benchmarks. So the best large language model, according to this article, scores an 84.9% on the HumanEval code benchmark. Cool, except what the heck is the HumanEval code benchmark? Well, here it is on GitHub, again, link below. The actual questions in the benchmarks are in this data file here. You can't look at it here, it's all compressed up, but you can download it and open it and reformat it so you can look at it yourself. So I did. And if you're the least bit curious about anything I'm about to tell you, I encourage you to download it and take a look yourself. So here's the first problem. So we're checking if any two integers in a list are more than a certain distance apart. That seems pretty simple. Next problem. Split up a string containing parentheses into an array of matched groups. Okay, maybe they get harder as we go. Let's try the very last problem. Okay, given two integers, return all the even digits, not the integers, just the single digits that are between them. So the possible values, it's going to return the empty set or some ordered combination of 2, 4, 6, or 8. That's not exactly earth-shattering. What did that table from that article say about this benchmark? Okay, so the very best large language model in the entire world fails 15% of these things. There must be harder ones. Let's find the longest, most complicated one. Okay. So the one with the highest number of characters in it is number 69. Nice. It's find the greatest positive integer in a list that is greater than or equal to the number of times it appears in the list. Okay, that's not particularly difficult. And the best large language model in the entire world gets almost 85% of this kind of thing correct. Not exactly elite code master. But this is the state of the art of the thing that people are saying are going to replace all programmer jobs. If this were the best a particular professional human programmer could do, I would recommend they pick a different line of work. So here's a link to MIT's Gentle Introduction to Python class. The final homework for that class is programming a game of Tetris, which is far beyond what this test set can measure. The sample final exam for that class, intended to be done in an hour, may be roughly the same as some of these problems, maybe, but we're still talking best large language model in the entire world is currently at the MIT student having passed a single programming course with an 85 out of 100 level of competency here. Now, AIs get better, I'm sure, but I don't know about you. I'm not afraid of that being able to do the work of every single programmer in the entire US in the next 4 or so years, despite the CEO of Stability AI saying that just months ago. However, that's not really the problem. Let's talk about the real problems. 1. The people that are currently making the planning decisions about budgets for hiring programmers for the next few years are far more likely to be listening to the hype coming out of the CEO of Stability AI than someone breaking down what the HumanEval benchmark actually does, or caring at all about what the HumanEval benchmark actually means. 2. The incentives right now for companies to care about the quality of their code is completely messed up. Check out my Worst Thing About Software Jobs in 2024 video on this channel for more info about that. I'll put a link in the description. 3. The people that are managing the interview process for hiring programmers at most companies seem to think that problems like the ones in HumanEval actually are the important part of the job of a programmer, at least if you judge by the questions most programmer interviews actually ask. So in the short term, this is not good. Not the worst thing in the world, but not good. The incentives right now are for companies to want to believe that they can lay off people now, and plan to hire fewer in the future because they think that LLMs will fill in the gaps. Pretty sure they're wrong, but it will probably take a while for everyone to realize that. So I'm expecting programmers in general are going to have a relatively rough time until the generative AI hype bubble bursts. That might take a year or two, maybe less, we'll see. That doesn't mean there won't be any programming jobs, far from it, but it does mean that they'll take longer to find and probably not pay quite as well for a while compared to the boom during the COVID pandemic, when everything was going online in a hurry and the need for programmers was through the roof. And to be frank, compared to a lot of other kinds of jobs, we're still in a pretty good place, and I don't see any reason to regret being a programmer anytime soon. Before we close, I want to say a little bit about how I'd recommend programmers prepare for the short-term future. This is a much bigger topic than I have time for now, so more videos on this will be coming. Subscribe if you want to see those. Unfortunately, though, for the time being, programmers have two contradictory goals. That's not unusual. We've had the same problem for quite a while. But LLMs are going to make it worse. The first goal is to think about yourself not as someone who writes answers to coding problems, like how many integers in this list appear as many times as they are big, but rather try to think of yourself as the person who is good at breaking down product features and bug fixes and business requirements into logical, well-organized groups of small, well-defined coding problems that can be solved one at a time. Maybe by you, maybe by Google Gemini or GitHub Copilot. Keep in mind that your value is in actually providing functionality and value to your business and your customers, and the line-by-line coding is just minutia that will more and more be left to fancy autocomplete modules in your code editor. You don't want to be the person who only writes routines that AI can do or be able to do soon. You want to be the person who decides what routines need to be written. The second goal, unfortunately, is to keep current enough on the line-by-line coding minutia that you can pass a coding interview if it comes to that. I realize that's a direct opposite of what I just said. Sorry about that. It's just reality. The stupid leak code problems are what get you a job or a new job or a better job. And the focus on being good at breaking things down to a series of smaller problems is how you keep a job that you already have and do a good job of it. This has been true for years now. It's an indication of how really, very, truly broken this industry's interview practices are. And I'll have a lot more to say about this situation in future videos. But it's not going to change anytime soon, so just deal with it as best you can. For now, I encourage you to think about tasks in terms of, is this the kind of problem that AIs are being trained to do now? Or is this something that's actually worth doing? And set your priorities accordingly. I wish you luck, and I hope you'll come back. Thanks for watching.